It appears that Marvel and DC fans have slightly different preferences when it comes to how they get their respective fixes. A new survey conducted by streaming and cord-cutting news site Flixt, examining the attitudes of Americans towards streaming versus movie theater viewing, revealed that Marvel Cinematic Universe aficionados are more likely than DC diehards to catch the latest installment in the theater. The difference was relatively slight, but with millions upon millions of dollars at play each time a superhero tentpole picture hits screens, it still feels pretty significant.
You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you.
Survey respondents were asked if they would consider catching the next installment of 4 popular franchises at home rather than in the theater, with those uninterested in any given franchise being excluded from the results. When it came to Mighty Marvel versus the distinguished competition, 34% insisted they would rather see the next MCU flick in the theater, as compared to 27% for the DC movie universe. Again, those 7 percentage points make a pretty big difference when you're talking about millions of moviegoers, and those numbers are suggestive of a couple of different things. First, it's pretty obvious that Marvel Studios has utterly captured the hearts of fans, considering that a plurality of moviegoers of all ages would be willing to pay a premium to watch first-run films in the comfort of their homes. The fact that the next MCU movie, whatever it might be, would entice fully a third of those people who want to see it to head out to the theater even if they had the option to watch at home is pretty impressive. Second, the DC Cinematic Universe may have suffered a bit from the comparatively poor quality of its early offerings. But that doesn't mean that fans still aren't on board with what Warner Brothers and DC Films are cooking up next. With over a quarter of them preferring the theater experience over watching at home for the next installment, it's clear that there's still a great deal of goodwill toward the franchise. Recent hits such as Aquaman, Shazam, and Joker have probably helped quite a bit in this regard. As for the other 2 franchises, 34% of interested moviegoers, the same number scored by the MCU, asserted that the next entry in the Disney-owned Star Wars franchise would be a must-watch in the theater. The final franchise in question, Warner Brothers-owned Harry Potter, which could draw 25% of its fans back to the theater with another installment. These were just a few of the interesting tidbits of information yielded by the study, which took a broad view of the opinions of a wide cross-section of Americans regarding the convenience of streaming versus the experience of theater viewing. Respondents were lumped into the categories of millennial, Gen X, and baby boomer. And if you think you've got each age range pegged, you're likely to be shocked at some of the results. For example, when it came to the simple question of whether respondents would prefer to see new movies in general at home or in theaters, you might think millennials would be all about streaming as compared to the other age groups. But if you did think that, you would apparently be wrong. By far, Gen X respondents came down most heavily on the side of home viewing, with a whopping 73% saying they would prefer to stream new releases. As for the responses of millennials and boomers to the question, they were not that different. 61% of the former preferred home viewing as compared to 63% of the latter. And factoring in neutral responses, the percentage of respondents from each age group that straight up preferred theater viewing was the same, 31%. Regardless of age group, the survey's responses indicated that the forthcoming so-called streaming wars are no joke. Fully 2/3 of respondents also asserted that as streaming services proliferate in earnest over the next 3 years, they will definitely see fewer movies in theaters, even though slightly over half of those responding agreed that movies produced for in-theater viewing, as opposed to streaming originals, were generally more entertaining. As to the franchise-specific question, though, one could argue that Disney and Warner Brothers should take very different things away from the responses. Disney would be well served to keep doing what it's been doing, particularly as that pertains to the MCU. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, could stand to double down on its recalibration efforts of the last couple years. One final note, it should be very interesting to see, with Marvel Studios planning to extend the MCU's tendrils to the small screen via soon-to-debut streamer Disney+, whether fans will be just as psyched to catch the next chapter in theaters in, say, 2 or 3 years. Marvel has consistently gotten butts in theater seats for over a decade, and the studio scored the highest-grossing film of all time just this year with Avengers Endgame. But the times are a-changin'.
I see this as an absolute win.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite comic book movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.